As the raid to the White House heats up, DD India is on an election trail to the United States. Our correspondent Shubhendu Ghosh is in New York. He scans through some of the prominent newspapers and takes us through the latest developments in the electoral landscape of the United States.
We are next to the iconic Brooklyn Bridge in New York. It happens to be a sunny day. Let's scan through what's appearing in the prominent newspapers about the US elections. Let's begin with the Wall Street Journal first. It is talking about in a battleground state of Michigan, the state of Detroit is an issue in itself. Well, the context of it is that Donald Trump had likened the city in his speech, recent speech to a developing nation, and he had said that the whole country, America, would land up as Detroit if Kamala Harris is elected as president. Now, Kamala Harris's team has spun that around to her advantage, saying that it is like Donald Trump versus Detroit, that he had disrespected the people and the culture of Detroit. Donald Trump's team, of course, says that his words were taken out of context by Kamala Harris, and that his remarks were directed at Detroit's lingering high crime and poverty rates. So that's interesting tussle centered around the state of Michigan. Next, let's turn to the New York Times. It's talking about the manner in which the North Carolinians are considering who will help them rebuild as early voting begins. Thursday was the day of early voting to begin. In North Carolina, the context of it is also the cyclone Helene and the devastation that it caused, scarred by the extraordinary amounts of rain that unleashed deadly flooding. The article says the road-crushing mudslides last month, the people of Western North Carolina are heading into the voting booths with the question in mind: which candidates will best help rebuild their communities and the impact of the worst natural disasters in the recent US history. Another article from the paper, it says Obama set to hit the trail alongside Harris next week. Former President Barack Obama and Michelle Obama, the former First Lady, will in fact make their first campaign appearance alongside Vice President Kamala Harris as she seeks to woo the voters in the last-ditch effort really in Georgia and Michigan. And finally, we're looking at the New York Post. There's an interesting editorial article, looks at the US elections from the context of foreign affairs. It says US election has the EU paralyzed, but, and it sort of talks about the implications and all that is going on, especially in the context of the Ukraine conflict. It says that there is an odd sense of paralysis in Brussels, the capital of the European Union. Everyone is waiting for the US presidential elections to conclude and the confirmation hearing of new European Commission. So there is this sort of time gap with the new leadership to sort of take charge. It is going to be important for what's going on in Eastern Europe in particular as well. So those were some of the highlights of what has appeared in the newspapers here in New York, talking about US elections. With camera person S. Jaishankar, Shubhendu Ghosh for DD India in New York.